Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. For me it is. It's not so happy right now because this is the third time I'm trying to film this. I feel like I get started and then I get a little off track and then I can't circle my thoughts back. That's ADHD. But I really do want to talk about what I want to talk about, so I'm trying to push through, persevere. Please ignore the ring light in my lenses. That is a little bit annoying, but it's also not what's important. I think what's important is listening, not looking. But you can look. That's okay too. But today I just want to talk a little bit about being enraged as a woman and like really harnessing that feeling and mobilizing because clearly a lot of what we're seeing going on in the world is because of puny, coward men with delusional egos, and they are all competing with each other to see who has the smallest dick. That's actually what's going on. It's who has the smallest dick. And I want to remind women to not subject themselves to misogyny in any way, shape, or form that is, okay? I'm talking about blatant misogyny, and I'm talking about microaggressions. And I also want to speak to young girls, not super young. I know that I have a potty mouth, and I know that I say things that are just, not age appropriate for all age groups. So I'm not trying to cater to really young girls, but I am talking about young enough to not have that much experience with men, hopefully. So I want to remind, teen girls to shut men the fuck up, to hold their value very high, and to not settle for dumb, behavior that is unimpressive and gross, I want girls to understand that they are too good for men. I want girls to understand, and women, and honestly anyone, to realize like we don't need to be looking for the attention and gaze of men. My life has gotten so much better once I realized that men are unimportant and their standards are low. So when you understand how a man's brain works, it's so unmysterious. It is so compartmentalized, and it's really not that deep most of the time. You will realize that a lot of the bullshit they put you through is just games to them. It is just games to them. And frankly, I don't have fucking time for games. And I don't think you should either. And I don't think as a woman you should be playing into the games, because it further enables them to be the way they are. When in reality, we have so much pussy power to stop these men and freeze them in their tracks and make them realize what the truth is. So, the more we stop folding to male behavior, the inevitable truth is that something's gonna have to change. There's already this divide happening between the sexes of like women realizing that they don't need men, and so financially we are able to purchase our own homes, we are able to make big purchases just in general all on our own. Some of us are even raising kids on our own without even involving a man to begin with. So that is why there are so many of men who have been failed by the conditioning of patriarchy and misogyny, and they are feeling threatened by this empowerment in women. And what made them get to this point when in reality they could be evolving with us and being like, good for her, great, let's collaborate, let's have a partnership that's even even better, you know, like instead they're going, women don't need us, and I need to be needed. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, what do you need to be needed for? We don't need you. And we never did. Because clearly when shit goes wrong and shit goes south, we are able to fix things. And you guys just freak out and walk away. So, or wreak more havoc. So it's like, yeah, women are exhausted. They're throwing their hands up and they're walking away from, dynamics that are just drilling in patriarchal mindsets, whether it be with the man that they're married to or their boss. You know, like, we are hitting a breaking point, and society is having a really hard time realizing that we can be collaborating rather than, segregating. How come so many men who are complaining about, not having relationships with women, doing the opposite of what you should be doing to achieve healthy dynamics of women? And this is like what's so difficult to me, is like, why can't men just take accountability? Why is it so hard for you to be self-aware? So that's what I'm encouraging women to do, is if you are having relationships with men, you need to call them out. You need to make them aware of their behavior. And that could either be received and they wanting to change their behavior, or they could fight it and not want to understand, and they can continue to be part of the problem. But it's not your job from then on to keep them understanding and educated or empathetic. Like, we've already done the fucking work. We don't need to baby them. We don't need to be fucking nice all the time. We've been nice. And that's why we're riddled with more autoimmune disease than men ever will. Is because we are slowly chipping away at ourselves, holding in our current feelings, and always letting the comfort of men be above our own. And that has literally made us sick. And I know I'm not the only one who has felt the impacts of these health conditions. So if it's not for your mental state, it's for your health that you do this. Because men are slowly killing us. And women need to recognize that. Women need to recognize that men are slowly killing us. And their behavior. And it's not going to benefit men to continue on this way, because they're gonna live a life of loneliness, or they're going to sit back, do some inward thinking, and realize where they can be the change and where they need to do better for themselves. Because this is not only a women's job. However, it is us who is going to instigate the revolution. And we already see that. We see that historically as well, that we are always part of the revolution. We are the foundation for what moves and mobilizes big change and, and evolutionary thinking. We are impactful because we are life givers. We don't need to childbear to give life to this world. We are superior in that we are creative, and we are resourceful, and we are intelligent. And on top of that, we're fucking beautiful. Do you know how threatening that is to a man whose brain can only think about one thing at a fucking time, and is pretty much only thinking about his needs. Women have a condition to think about everybody else's needs before her own, and that is why we have learned to just take the hit of the relationships we have with men. When we are taught at such a young age to, behave and be quiet and to dim our light, we start to learn that the men that we love, or that we think we love, or that actually think that love us, we think that their behavior can be okay because they love us. When in reality, the things that they're saying, the things that they're doing is unloving because it's either unaware or blatantly fucked up. So we can continue to surrender to that and be victims of it, or we can take accountability and say, you don't get any part of me until you learn to be better. Like, that's all we can do as a humanity, is be better. And so be better within yourself as a woman or as a member of the LGBTQ. Like, you don't need to submit to misogyny. Like, I am going to push back. Like, you can say whatever the fuck you want. You can say whatever you want to me as a man or as a woman who fucking hates yourself. Like, that's another thing, is like, we need to hold accountable the women that are standing behind these so-called powerful men, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, the Pam Bondis of the world. There's even smaller people than that, like the Laura Loomers of the world. I couldn't even name them all, because there's a lot of women who fucking hate themselves, and they were conditioned to hate themselves. And so while they're the victims, they're also the perpetrators. And like, I look at that and I'm like, disgusting. Why do you hate yourself so much? To go ride the dick of a man who will never care about your well-being, because you blatantly say, it's okay that you don't care about my well-being. It's okay that you hate me. I'll still have sex with you anyway. Like, that is what women have been conditioned to believe in themselves. That's genuinely what they see their value as. And that's very small. That's very sad. That's very pathetic. And I'm not going to be nice about that, because you are like so radically loud about it. If that's how you feel, if you feel misogynistic as a woman, if you are misogynistic as a woman, if you're a male apologist, I don't need to be nice to you. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem, because you blatantly know what you're doing. And if you're so loud about it, like, if you want to believe like that, shut your fucking mouth. Go fucking make your husband sandwiches then. Go do that. But I don't want you to fucking talk about it, because you are spreading ideology that is harmful to others. It's not only harmful to yourself, it's harmful to the daughters you raise, it's harmful to the men that you raise, it is harmful to everyone. And you can keep that kind of thinking to yourself. But empowering people to be themselves, to harness the strengths that they have within themselves, there's nothing wrong with empowering that kind of ideology. That is making someone aware of the talents and the impact they can bring to society, and how they can flourish from it. But I'm tired of women seeing themselves dim their light for the benefit of man. They don't deserve that. What have they done to deserve that? They have stolen that. They have cheated their way to this kind of power. Because how come men like Theo Von and Joe Rogan idolize billionaires? Yeah, these men are wealthy, but they are not billionaires. They literally idolize these incredibly, blatantly racist and homophobic and fascist people, misogynistic people, they blatantly support that. And then now that they're realizing it's really, really fucked up, they're gonna backtrack. What made you think that there was ever going to be goodness from supporting someone who was not sugarcoating how he felt about certain groups of people and the people who stand behind him and what they feel about those certain groups of people? Everyone's impacted by this, and everyone's impacted negatively. And even the people who are standing with all this so-called power are sitting with it and being negatively impacted because their whole life is built on lies, fucking other people over, and just rotten, inhumane, soulless behavior. Like, can you imagine how horrible it is to probably sit in that all the time? They are constantly living in their own torment. Can you imagine your whole life being ran off of lies? That's a lot. That's a lot to fucking weigh on you. Because you can't keep track of them all. Nothing ever fucking makes sense. That's embarrassing. Because everyone can so clearly see it. So I want to encourage you, if you see that and you think that it's kind of laughable or it's upsetting, as it should be, shouldn't that be encouraging you to be completely transparent with yourself, completely authentic with yourself, and empowered in yourself? Because I can tell you that you and I are far stronger than the weakness of the men who are ruining all of our lives. Because if they genuinely were strong people, if they genuinely weren't cowards, if they genuinely weren't broken, they wouldn't feel the need to fuck over people time and time again. They have so much self-hatred for themselves that they don't care about how hated they are by all of us. And shouldn't that be encouragement for you to radically pursue yourself and radically empower yourself to just be the woman, the person, the man? You can be anything you want. And why would you care about how that's received from society when we have clearly platformed and accepted the abuse of weak men who want to ruin people's lives, and the women who stand behind them because they too hate themselves? So if we all as women start shifting into a place of selfishness, of radical acceptance, self-acceptance, of pretending that you have the highest self-esteem and confidence you could ever find within yourself, even if you don't fully believe it yet. If you just start living for yourself as a woman, do you understand how much it's going to cripple these systems? They rely on our participation to continue going. And we could just stop showing up. Stop showing up for the men in your life that are harming your happiness. Stop showing up for the systems that were built by men that are destroying your happiness. We don't have to oblige. And I don't want any girls growing up to believe that they need to oblige. And I don't want any men growing up to oblige. Because I want men to realize as they grow within themselves that their personal self-empowerment does not need to stomp on the self-development of others just to be successful. We all can unite to believe these things, to heal our humanity. And I know I feel like a lot of the time that I'm talking, it always comes back to healing humanity, but that's exactly what this is about. Is like when we pursue ourselves, we heal humanity. And women have been taught for so long to not pursue their wants and desires, because for so long they were just conditioned to be wives and mothers that we forgot to even feed our souls with our personal interests. But men have been able to pursue their personal interests this whole time. We've put ourselves on the back burner for the personal gain of men. And it's time that we change that, because clearly this is not working for anybody. And I think it's not working for even the people who think they're benefiting the most from it. They get to go to bed at night riddled with the knowledge that they are destroying families, individuals, protections for the most vulnerable. And can you imagine how weak you must feel as a billionaire of all fucking people to want to do that to other people? The people who need it the most. That's pathetic. Do you want to be a pathetic person? Do you want to support patheticism? Because when it's really broken down like that, the automatic answer should be no. And I personally just don't have tolerance for anyone that is willing to bend for that. Because you clearly don't have a backbone, and you clearly have no self-identity. That's the only reason fuckers like this get to the power they have, is because the people who support them have no identity. And they've got nothing better to do than be a hateful piece of shit. It's so black and white to me. If you want to be a hateful piece of shit, at least pretend better. It's so silly to me that we have a reality show playing in front of us in politics every single day. And too many people have normalized it, but I think that more people have started to step into the rage that is going to get us to changing what needs to change. So I hope that when I speak on these things, that it is only a little bit more fuel to your fire, because I don't want women and minorities to forget how much power we have. I hate talking about it because it's like I'm just repeating the same words. You have power, you have power, you have power. But it's like, you fucking do. And don't forget it, just because you were conditioned to believe otherwise your whole life. That thinking stops today. It just stops today. I know that you don't hate yourself. So if you don't hate yourself, you at least need to love yourself enough to realize that you have agency over what you do and don't accept. And we don't need to continue accepting this. I will, like, over my dead body, will I accept the bullshit? And I want to remind you as a woman to not be nice about it, okay? I think that As a human, we need to be kind and hold ourselves accountable and be respectful to one another. But when your boundaries keep getting pushed time and time again, when you keep being taken advantage of time and time again, there is no more need to sugarcoat it, just so that you're not perceived as a bitch, just so that you don't make someone feel uncomfortable. Make people feel uncomfortable. Why do you feel like you need to heighten your voice because you're just talking to this kind of person? No. Be radically yourself. Do not feel like you need to be a certain kind of woman to society, because the only reason society is expecting a certain kind of woman from each and every single one of us is because we have shrunk ourselves to make them feel comfortable. I want you to take up space. I want you to recognize your value. I want you to hold people accountable for knowing your worth. You deserve that. And the tiny little things that we do in day-to-day interactions to maintain that is what's going to radically sweep society and get rid of the torment that the patriarchy is doing to us. Anyways, I wanted to put a little disclaimer though, now that we're wrapping things up. I do not know what the audio is like. I am playing around with that. I use the microphone for a few videos. I'm not sure how I feel about the sound quality on that. And clearly, I don't even have enough views to get feedback on this stuff quite yet. However, if and when this starts getting seen, because I know it will happen, because I do know my value here. That is one thing I'm going to put out there, is like, I know my value so much that like whatever is said, whatever is perceived by my content, I really could care less. I only will care about the people that I could potentially offend, you know, like if I need to be held accountable as far as how I speak about something, I am open to, you know, helpful criticism. But other than that, like, you cannot tell me anything about my value. You will not be able to change how I feel about myself, because I know myself and I am a strong woman who I really could give a fuck about what any man has to say about me. Genuinely, no. I only care about what the girls and the gays have to say. But with that being said, I do not know what the sound quality is. I decided not to do a mic this time because I'm not sure if it's better to do it that way. However, my only concern is picking up too much sound outside just from my phone camera. Obviously, we are in the beginning stages of things, and I do not have a ton of technology to help me with these kinds of things. I don't even edit my videos really that much. I don't even cut clips. I just want to be authentic. And I know as time goes on, these are things I'll learn to do better, and I'm going to probably edit things a little bit better once I start understanding things and have more technology to help me with that. But in the meantime, I'm just laying myself out as it is. These are just early days of me speaking out my mind and stuff, and I know that I don't always have direction, and I just talk about so many things. But I also do know that I am someone who really knows that I deserve to be heard, and if I'm going to speak about empowering other people, then I have to empower myself in the meantime. So this is me doing that. This is me taking care of myself. This is me pouring into myself. This is me pursuing myself, and I'm here to encourage you to pursue yourself radically, authentically, and full of passion, because we all deserve to feel that way. We all deserve to feel excited and inspired by life. I don't think we need to continue normalizing that life is miserable, because it doesn't need to be that way. We all can flourish, we all can have abundance, we all can achieve success if we all believe that we deserve that. So thank you so much for tuning in if you did, and I really hope to continue putting my heart out there and doing it in a very honest way with you. And thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.